Hamtaro asked me, how do I memorize words? And so I made a video showing what happens when I memorize numbers. And we do the exact same thing, but for words. I'm going to explain the whole process. And what I'm explaining pretty much goes for any kind of concept, idea, word for word thing you want to memorize. Because you're going to be memorizing words, right? So it's like the countries and capitals, they're just words. And so this applies to pretty much all situations where words are involved. Now here I'm just going to memorize as many words as possible in 1 minute, but just explain what's happening. So before I start memorizing, I have my location in mind. Now of course this is from competition, but if you're memorizing some information like from a book, you probably have a memory palace in mind already, right? And so I'm using my apartment. So the first location is like the area outside, like the stairs up into the apartment, laundry room, TV, Christmas tree. Yes, there's a Christmas tree in August. Don't ask about it. But yeah, so I have my locations in my palace. Boom. So I'm ready. And so let's get started. So let's see. Boom. So awful, span. So I use the first thing that comes to my mind when I memorize words because there's no system you could really have. So awful. Awful, I think of someone full outside. They kind of look pregnant. Span, spam. So like that food, you know, that's like that weird canned meat. And so I see this person that is full and then they're throwing up a whole bunch of spam. Alrighty. So scum. So in my, so it's my laundry room. So in the washer, I see like all this scum on top. It's like algae green, you know, exempt. I think of a tent. Okay. And so I see this scum and then a tent is rising out of the scum. Alrighty. Remember, I see someone memorizing something because they're trying to remember something. Deficiency. Efficiency, I think of like the machines because they're efficient, right? And so I see this robot racing this person who's trying to remember. Now, I expected as much to go for that many words because I'm trying to explain everything, right? And so, as you can tell, I was just taking whatever popped into my mind, found some sort of image, put it, and connected the second image to it, right? Because I did 2 words per location. You can do multiple words per location. It's totally up to you. So, say if I had a quote that was 10 words, I would pretty much do the exact same thing you just saw me do. Now, when I'm memorizing, say like a poem or something, I might leave out like A, B, the, depending on what the poem is and how it flows. So to recall, I'm like, okay, so first location was outside my apartment door, you know, like the staircase area, hallway, that's what it's called. And I saw someone who's pregnant, who looks pregnant. Okay, oh yeah, he's full, all full. And then they were throwing up a bunch of spam, span. So you can see how the images I created sound similar to the actual words, right? Span, spam, awful, the person was full. And then to the laundry room, the washer had a whole bunch of green algae scum on it. And then there's a tent coming out, exempt. And then at the TV, I see someone trying to remember something, right? Because I'm memorizing, remember. And then I see this machine, you know, memorizing the same thing, but like a whole bunch of sheets of paper going out. So deficiency. Spell is like the worst thing when it comes to memorizing words if you have to spell them correctly. There's always some things you can always mix up. Deficiency. I think that might be right. Could be wrong. But there you go. So the whole process would have been the same thing if I memorized more words. You know, I would have just seen the location, used whatever came to my mind, and then connect all the words together. So if I did 10 words, I would connect every single word to the previous image, okay? So like I did, awful was my first word, right? The second word was span, so I connected span to awful. So the first thing I saw was this person being full, right? And then they started throwing up span. And so the person being full was the first thing I thought of, the first thing I see. And then what happens next, they start throwing up spam. And so first word, person was full, throwing up spam, second word. Same thing with the next location, right? Saw the washer and there was a bunch of water and there was scum on top, you know, algae, it was all green. That's the first thing. Then I saw a tent rise up out of it. So that's the second word. And so that's so crucial when memorizing words that, I guess in this specific case, right, that the first word comes first, so your image has to match that. the first image you see has to be the first word, because say if I saw, oh yeah, there was a whole bunch of spam everywhere. Oh yeah, that's because someone was throwing up. I just switched that around, right? Spam was the first thing I saw because a whole bunch of spam everywhere, and then the person was full, and that's why they were throwing up. And so you see how that completely changes the order, and it's so important to keep the order when memorizing words, especially at competition. Now, there's some things that you might be memorizing. Let's say it's the presidents, and you memorize the presidents, and then maybe you add their images, or you add images for their term dates, and then for their vice president, and so on. Now, in that case, the order of the images is not that important because you know what they represent. So let's say you have your number system and you see, 93. And so for me, that's Big Bird. It doesn't matter where I see Big Bird in that because that's a number. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go confuse that with anything else. And then say it was George Washington or something. I see here it's George attacking a washing machine. It's very easy to find your image and be like, oh yeah, that clearly belongs to the president, George Washington. This other person I've probably never heard of, the vice president. Oh yeah, that's this set of images. And so there are times where the order of your images doesn't matter at all. But there are times where the order of the words do matter, and so you have to make sure your images match them exactly. And here you go. You can see I got them all right. And the process I just gave you was pretty much exactly what happens if I'm learning something from a book. I'm like, oh, okay, I have this, this main point. Okay, how do I change that to an image? Okay, got that. Now, what are the subpoints? Okay, what images can I have for that? And Hamtaro was talking about, do you make an image, I believe, for like one, or like for each and everything, or like one for overall? It kind of depends what it is, So say if you have 5 points, if you can have kind of one image that kind of grabs everything and puts it into one bundle, I can have one image for that, and I've done that. But a lot of the time, it's a lot easier to kind of just go with each point to have its own image, and then just connect them all together. That's way easier because you're not trying to figure out, okay, wait, so this is like that, this is that. What if I have like this one image and it kind of represents? No, okay, it might work, might not. It's just so much easier to go like, okay, so for this topic, the speech I'm giving, the first thing is time. I'm talking about just have a clock. Next thing is be more productive. Maybe you think of machinery, boom, second image. And so there you go. You have these different images, right? But then you can just connect them together in a story. And so if you're giving a speech, you can put them into a palace, or if you're actually using the story method, you could just remember the story, like, oh yeah, whatever. Oh yeah, I saw this clock, and then it got punched in the face by this machine. Oh yeah, so time management, is gonna make us more productive, So yeah, so this is what goes on in my mind when I'm memorizing words, and it's pretty much the same as numbers, except this doesn't have any system to it. I'm just making stuff up on the spot, because I don't even know where you would start when making a system. Yes, you can have some like common parts of the word, like the suffixes and stuff like that. But at the same time, it might be so much work because it's probably so many different suffixes and stuff like that. For me, I just practice the skill of coming up with any image that's going to work for it. It could sound like it. It could just be a random association. It could be the spelling of the words, whatever it may be. I just come up with an image as fast as possible. So that's what I train, because I think that's a lot easier than try to make this really intricate system where you have like all these different suffixes and stuff like that. And if you come across something that doesn't have it, then you kind of stuck. You're like, oh crap. Regardless of what I see, something's going to pop into my head of some sort. I'm just going to roll with it. Even if it makes no sense to anyone else, even if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm just going to roll with it. Because that's a way better option than kind of trying to create this impossible system for an infinite amount of words. There might be an infinite amount, I'm not sure, but there's a lot of words. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.